Howdy y'all, I'm Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and welcome to my review of Black Falcon Captain America flittering around in his brave new world. I normally don't do movie reviews, you guys know, and if you are regular, I am usually television guy. But I do movie reviews for very special occasions, and this movie is a special occasion because it's bad. It's bad, and it is now setting the stage for a very, very tough, rough, arduous road for Disney Marvel, the MCU, in 2025, leading all the way to Fantastic Four, little baby first steps. They have a problem, and it starts with Black Falcon Captain America. This movie is bad. I'm going to say it right out now. It's bad. It's not woke, but it is bad. It's shallow. It's very soulless. It has no meat to it. It's definitely several different ideas slapped together, and it is essentially an Incredible Hulk movie without the Hulk. That's part of the biggest problem. When you strip everything away, as I'll detail later on, you could see how this worked as a Hulk movie, but it doesn't work as a Sam Wilson movie where Sam Wilson has no attachment to anything in there. I'm going to get into it. So right now, before we go any further, yes, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. I'm going to jam it all in there. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to say, he suffered from my entertainment. Because that's what I did. I suffered for your entertainment. So if you don't want a spoiler-filled review, go watch it, come back, then point and laugh at me for even taking the time to deal with this stupid movie. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to go through 3 acts. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. We're going to talk about the movie in bullet point form. I'm not going to go into detail of every single scene, but I'm going to tell you what happened. Then we're going to talk about the characters and everything bad about the movie, from the choreography, the very weak soundtrack, and to things that just don't make sense, i.e., here's a scene. Let's jump to another scene where, wow, why do they look like this? How do they get to that? The very thin, flimsy thread, dental floss thin thread that is holding this movie together. That was clearly the final reshoot. So without further ado, let's get started. We begin with Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross having won the presidency. It's Harrison Ford taking over William Hurt, who passed away several years ago, proving that they are willing to recast somebody in a role as long as they're a big enough name and they're not an identity politics issue. So Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, we'll call him President Ross going forward, he wins the election surrounded by an aura of him being an angry man. People don't like him. People think he's rash, he's abusive, but he still won on a unity message, all because he wants to change. And that is kind of one of the points of this movie, that can people change? Can a man change? Are they willing to take the steps to have a massive mea culpa on life? And that's President Ross's thing. He wants to be a better man because he wants Betty back in his life. Remember Betty, played by Liv Tyler, who we haven't seen since the Incredible Hulk movie with Ed Norton, who was a much better Hulk than anybody else so far. He wants to do better, and he wins. And problem is, that's kind of the start of the movie where we don't know where it would have gone, because then suddenly you have a cut to Sam in a bar watching the election, or at least the victory celebration, and then he cuts to being on a mission. Whoop! No actual possible good transition. It's just then suddenly Ross has won and Sam's on a mission, and here's where it gets bad, because this is the last round of reshoots where they brought in Giancarlo Esposito to play Sidewinder, a member of the Serpent Society, who isn't actually the Serpent Society in this, which is just called Serpent. He's brought in he was hired, Sidewinder's hired to steal a package and deliver it to a buyer, and Sam, with his buddy, what's his name? I don't remember his name. We'll just call him Falcon Jr. I don't remember his name. Falcon Jr. Falcon Jr. running sideman in the bus with the comms and some military dudes as Sam swoops in. And here's the thing. A lot of the stuff you saw in the trailers is literally the whole movie. I shit you not. You've seen him land, fight a bunch of serpent terrorists in Falcon-like manner, and then try to save some people from Sidewinder, who sends away the package, who then Falcon Jr. suits up to go and get the package, and which turns out to be adamantium. We'll get to that in a minute. What happens then is Sam's going to have a fight with a bunch of dudes. He's going to save some people in very poorly choreographed stuff. We'll come back to the choreography later. Then Sidewinder is going to taunt him and run away. And then Sam is victorious, and then they save it. And then suddenly, we cut back to wherever they are. I guess it's DC, considering where they're going to be next. I guess they're in DC, where Sam's going to take Falcon Jr. to go visit Isaiah Bradley, who was introduced in Falcon Winter Soldier, which nobody watched. And that's part of the problem here. A lot of this movie wants you to feel like it's connected to the MCU, and they want you to think Falcon Winter Soldier was a big deal, but it wasn't. Nothing was accomplished in that movie. Nothing in that movie actually translates to this movie, except for Sam is fake Captain America, and Isaiah Bradley was the forgotten Captain America. And remember, Isaiah Bradley is a recent creation in the past decade. He is not deep lore. So anybody wants to cry at me, oh, when you talk about he's lore, no, he's recent lore. He's essentially Disney-fied lore. He's not real. He doesn't count. So I don't care about him. And he's fake in this situation. He's a fanfic character, as I like to say. So what's going to happen here is he's going to go show off his training to Falcon Jr. Joachim, that's his name. Joachim, but we'll still call him Falcon Jr. Falcon Jr., you're going to show him that it's not about strength, it's about smarts and this and that. Anyway, during the whole thing, here's one of the really first moments that I realized, wow, here's a really bad transition scene. During the fake training, he gets a call, says, yes, I'll hold from the president. And instead of actually seeing him talk to the president, we cut to Isaiah's little office, and Sam's asking him, so what's wrong? Why do you feel bad? Feel bad because I talked to the president, who you don't like? And we get this whole rambling bullshit about how Isaiah hates the American government that locked him away. I want to say for being black, but I don't think that works in this situation. But locked him away, and then Sam convinced him to come visit him with, Sam convinces him to go with him and Falcon Jr. to go visit the president as they celebrate getting a hold of the adamantium for this treaty that is now centered around the Celestial that everybody's ignored for 4 years since the Eternals. Now suddenly the MCU wants to focus on it, and it's the center of adamantium. So what's going to happen is everybody goes to this big shindig at the White House, which has major security problems. People with guns all over the place. People with cell phones. See, as far as I know, when you go to visit the White House in any manner, they're going to take your cell phone. They're going to take everything on you as soon as you walk through the door. But in this thing, everybody just walks through the door, no security check, nothing at all. Everybody's got their cell phones, which is the problem with how this whole upcoming assassination attempt is going to work. And I'm not spoiling anything because you saw it in the trailer. You know what's going to happen. Anyway, after there's a big talk between President Ross and Sam about him wanting Sam to restart the Avengers, and I gotta mention it now, they're working really overtime in this movie to convince you that Sam Wilson is Captain America. And he's not. He's just Sam Wilson. He literally is Sam Wilson for 85% of the movie. He doesn't even wear his fake Captain America suit all but twice. He wears it twice. And both times, it's falconized. But we'll talk about that when we get to the choreography discussion later on. Anyway, so, after Sam says, well, if I'm going to restart the Avengers, are you going to bug me when I want to do things my way? And President Ross is like, no, don't worry, we'll work together. And at this point, they're going to introduce, I think it's where they introduce the tiny little woman that's a former Black Widow, was supposed to be the Israeli superhero from Marvel, but because of issues in the real world, and the MCU is a bunch of cowards, they made her a former widow. And she's literally this big. I mean, I'm going to stand up a second. Here's me. Let me get the camera. Here's her. This is how big she is. She's a freaking hobbit, all right? Goddamn hobbit. So, she is tiny. And we're going to come back to that later with the choreography. And she's his special security advisor, all right? So what's going to happen is they're going to agree to disagree and work on it later together. Then we get to meet the Japanese prime minister, who's going to play a role later on. And then Ross is going to give a big speech about how the world needs to come together in a treaty to avoid war so we can all make use of adamantium. So this is how adamantium is introduced to the MCU. Funny, Wolverine should have already been Weapon X for a very long time, all right? But he isn't. Right, so blah, blah, blah. Suddenly some weird noises happen, and Isaiah and several other military dudes try to kill Ross, yet very poorly. And in this situation, it's the second of really bad choreography where it's really clear that Sam Wilson is not up to the challenge of facing anybody that is not regular human. Because we're going to get a very silly, and I'll describe it in more detail later, a very silly chase sequence where Sam tries to catch Isaiah after he runs away after the failed assassination attempt. Oh, I think I forgot to mention that Ross is busy popping pills the whole movie. That's an important thing. We'll come back. It's part of the thing that we'll get back to. But he's been popping pills because you see him pop a pill right after this again. He pops one in the beginning, pops one now, keeps popping them later throughout the movie. Now, what's happening is this. They capture Isaiah. He can't go back to prison, wah-da-dee-wah. And now Sam's going to bust on in and tell Ross, he didn't do it. Let me investigate this. And here's where it feels like another bad transition from a different cut. Suddenly, Ross is like, he was your friend. You brought him here. You're done. You're not going to work for me anymore. Get out. Okay. And because Sam wants to investigate why Isaiah did the assassination attempt, but Ross won't let him because he's too involved. And now we get the splintering of the plot where people are going to go in their own directions for a bit. What you're going to get, this is the end of Act 1 ends where Sam is going to go home or try to go home after talking to Isaiah. Goes talk to Isaiah, then tries to go home, but then gets attacked by Sidewinder out of nowhere. So out of nowhere, you've got Juan Carlo Esposito just attacks him, and it's a silly fight where Sam gets stabbed in the shoulder with a knife and hit in the side with a hatchet, and is seemingly fine, having had no super soldier serum. He remarked several times in this movie that he didn't take a serum at all. And he beats him, and now they capture Sidewinder, and he hands him over to some of his military buddies who are more loyal to him than the president. Funny that way. And after promising Isaiah he's going to help, even though Isaiah told him to go away, Sam is now going to begin his trek to, essentially, here's Sam's plot for the whole movie. Prove Isaiah's innocent. That's his plot. That's his story. Prove Isaiah's innocent. As opposed to previous Captain America movies, Captain America, the First Avenger, stop Red Skull. Number 2, end up finding out the mystery and then stopping Hydra. And then in 3, saving his friend. So what we've got here is sort of a combination of, because there's a mystery aspect now. Who programmed Isaiah and to do his dirty work? So you've got a little bit of Winter Soldier and a little bit of Civil War going on here. Because now we have the mystery. Who did it? And Joaquin Falcon Jr. is suddenly a computer genius, and he's able to hack into the White House security and find the information, the video footage, of both Isaiah and all the other military dudes getting flashed by their phones to get mind controlled. And at the same time, the former widow chick who's been tasked by Ross to investigate it also gets the same footage at the same time, leading them all to go to a black site in West Virginia. And at this point, before Sam and Falcon Jr. leave, you see Sam take his Captain America gear, his damaged Captain America gear from the first fight. And I remark on this because it's the only Captain America gear he obviously has. And mind you, I forgot to mention, it's all Wakandan teched. It's all Wakandan teched up. Got the kinetic repulsion field. You got the knife repelling crap. And you got the nanite helmet shit that happens. It's all there. But he takes it. All right, he takes that junk and the shield, and they go on the road trip. Meanwhile, Ross is trying to pull together his peace treaty. We're in Act 2 now. Now this is Act 2, the mystery. Ross is trying to keep his treaty together, his legacy. That's the big thing. He wants to go down as a man of peace, not a man of war. So nobody wants to work with him unless Japan is on board. And Japan is angry because they are accusing him, America, of funding the stealing of the adamantium, which was Japanese. They're the ones that successfully mined the adamantium from Celestial Island. And now he has to go to Japan to get their respect. So Ross is going to fly around the world during the movie while telling everybody what to do. Well, while telling his security stuff what to do. And meanwhile, he gets a phone call on the way to Japan from, I'll just say it now, it's the dude who's the leader, Mr. Blue from The Incredible Hulk. It's obvious. This was the worst kept secret of this movie, that the leader is the villain. And it's a conversation about how Ross kept him locked away, he broke his promise, and now he's going to make sure Ross pays for it. Put a pin in that, because that's kind of the point of the movie. Really, that's the point of the movie. All right, so we get now the culmination of Act 2. Everybody arrives at the black site while Ross gets rejected by Japan and has to control himself from getting angry. Everybody gets to the black site, and you get a bunch of poorly done fight sequences after we get the reveal of the leader and what he's doing. And I would show a picture, but there's no official release screenshots of what he looks like. Let's just say a lot of us made fun of what they were going to do, like just put a big-ass leader, tall forehead on top of forehead, practical effects piece. But they didn't. Instead, they CGI'd it up, and he looks like he's just got really bad cancer. Like, it's just malformed cancer, blind in one eye, it's a lumpy brain head. It's not even tall, it's just there. And we learn that his powers are essentially probabilities. His mind is so great, he can see all the probabilities in the world. At the same time, I don't remember when it happened. I think the Sidewinder thing's there. Yeah, Sidewinder thing's ever. Sorry. So he's going to spill the beans. Yes, Ross kept him there. He is messing with everybody. He's the one behind it all. So the mystery they set up is solved in like half a second and feels tacked on to show us that, oh, the leader's behind everything. It feels very tacked on and doesn't kind of roll with everything. It especially doesn't roll with Sam Wilson, okay? And what happens now is, as I said, very bad choreography, very bad fights where Sam and Joaquin fight regular dudes, struggle to fight regular dudes. And once more, again, I will talk about the problems with the choreography a little bit later. Meanwhile, as they're leaving, then they encounter tiny little widow woman who she does her MCU thing. This chick is 4.5 feet, if anything, maybe 5 feet tall. And she just kicks the shit out of everybody. And now remember, they've prepared you for this by Sam saying she's a former widow. Better just stay out of her way. She annihilates all these dudes in a hallway fight scene. And then she joins up with Sam and Joaquin, who are then, I think, I might have it out of order. I don't know. Forgive me if I get this part wrong. He's then going to use Sidewinder as a deal to figure out what's going on with the leader. It's a bunch of shit, and it's kind of pointless. It's more tacked on bullshit. I have a problem remembering where it was because it's tacked on. It's hard to feel where it happened. Anyway, now everything is leading to the point where they learned at the leader's laboratory that President Ross did some medical procedures while he was there. And here's the problem now. We get to this point where Sam is having the pills analyzed by his military friends. And at the same time, he needs to now get to where President Ross is, because President Ross has now failed in Japan. He's failed in Japan. They've rejected him, and they are now going to where Japan's navy, along with Paris's and India's navies, are going to collide at Celestial Island in a fight over it. And President Ross actually goes to command from the carrier group there, which, once again, these people don't understand. A president is not going to go be on site in a military operation. Even though he was a general, he's not going to do that. And here's the problem now. Here's, again, a lot of Frankenstein moments. So Sam, Tiny Little Widow, and Falcon Jr. are now going to go to the Indian Ocean. They're going to fast travel to the Indian Ocean. Meanwhile, the leader is going to go to a house and say, "Hi, Admiral," and kill a bunch of people for no reason. There is no logical reason why he goes to a house and murders a bunch of people, so then he can have a phone call with Ross to try and trigger him to turn into Red Hulk. Because what's happening is he mind-wiped 2 fighter pilots to attack the Japanese Navy, and Ross can't stop it, and he's melting down. And we learn now that here's the leader's big thing. He doesn't want to start a war to hurt the world or anything, or take anything over, or even steal adamantium. He wants to start a war to tarnish Ross's legacy. That's the big master plan of the movie. Tarnish Ross's legacy. So you have a scene where Ross is trying to maintain his composure. He's beginning a partial transformation into Red Hulk from the goading of the leader, who has killed a bunch of people in a house for no reason. Why he's there, it's completely unclear. He's just there to make a phone call. Doesn't make any sense. And meanwhile, now suddenly, as I said, all this shit is going on, Sam, Falcon Jr., and Little Tiny Widow have fast traveled to the Indian Ocean. Now, Sam and Falcon Jr. are in full gear. And here's the problem. They arrive on the aircraft carrier. Sam's in a completely different Captain America suit. It's completely different. It's as though, in another cut, he maybe talked to some Wakandans and got a fresh suit. But that doesn't exist in this movie. He just shows up in a fresh, clean suit. Not the one he took with him when they began the mystery treasure hunt in Act 2. It makes no sense. And also, you'll notice that Tiny Little Widow woman, she's actually wearing some armor that kind of looks like her Israeli superhero outfit. If you look into the comics, it's got the white and the blue on the chest plate. So looks like in another cut of the movie, she was still her superhero persona, and they gave her the MCU version of it, and Sam and Falcon Jr. went to Wakanda and got some fresh tech, or called in the Wakandans, and it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Makes no sense whatsoever. So, in order to keep Ross calm, Sam and Falcon Jr. are going to engage the fighters and stop it. You get a really bad CGI fight scene. We're going to talk about that in the choreography section of the review. And they save the day. They save it, and everybody's happy, and Ross doesn't transform, and the leader's plan is ruined. So now the leader has to do something else to cause Ross to transform. And the problem is, during the whole part of the fight, Joaquin, Falcon Jr., he's not up to the task, and he doesn't stop a missile, and he gets hit, and he crash lands. Very Rhodey-esque from Civil War, where he's damaged. And he's going to get shipped off to heal. And now when we're going to cut back to DC, everybody's magically back in DC instantly. And Sam is in the hospital, standing in the operating window. You see, basically, he's just going to stand in the operating room window, watching them work on Joaquin. And he's questioning everything. Okay, he's questioning everything. And then here comes Bucky. Bucky out of nowhere walks in, and Sam starts going, "I should have taken the serum. Steve made a mistake. I don't deserve this shield. Steve inspired hope, blah, blah, blah." And then Bucky says, "Yeah, Steve inspired hope, but you inspire aspiration, Sam. Steve gave it to you because he knew people would aspire to be like you. And you don't need to take a serum, because a serum doesn't make you a hero. You're a hero because you have heart, Sam." And in this moment, we learn that Bucky's a congressman. Where did that come from? And that's a kind of a problem, because the next movie, Thunderbolts, that's not what a congressman is doing. How is Bucky a congressman here, and then obviously a military asset in the next movie that he's going to show up in. It doesn't make any sense. These people don't talk to each other. I don't know. Anyway, and then Sam's got fresh hope, and he's gonna go and try and stop the leader, because now the problem is, here comes a tiny little widow woman who has the hots for Bucky, by the way. Here comes tiny little widow woman who has the hots for Bucky, by the way. And here's like one of the random only jokes in the entire movie. He's 110 years old. Well, I can work with that. Very strange. So now we're going to shift to the final part. The climax begins, where we are now going to try and stop the leader, because Sam knows the leader's going to try one more thing. He's going to try and get to Ross, and he knows it's the pills, because he had one of his boys analyze it. Problem is, before he can call his boys to analyze, the leader kills everybody who has the pills, who has knowledge of the pills. And here's the problem. 5 minutes later, while Ross is giving a speech to everybody about how great the treaty is going and everybody wants peace now, the leader's master plan is to turn Ross into the Red Hulk and tarnish his legacy that way and have him go on a rampage. But Sam and him have a confrontation, a talking confrontation. And the leader explains everything. Yeah, Sam says it's the pills. I know it's the pills. I have a guy working on it. And leader goes, yeah, I know it's the pills. And I killed all the dudes who were working on the pills for you. But then why did you kill them if Sam already knew and you told him? So the leader just kills people for no reason. Granted, that's a supervillain type thing, but at least there should be a rhyme or a reason. And because he tries to convince Sam that if he goes to stop Ross from transforming, he's going to die. The probability says he's going to die. And that's why his supervillain power, his probability, is really dumb, because Sam is apparently a probability he can't account for in all of this. That's the problem with Sam Wilson as Black Falcon Captain America. Right, so Sam is going to jet over to try and stop Ross, who is now transformed to Hope, because what happened is the leader played their conversation about Ross turning on him, from the plane conversation I told you about, and it's the pills. The pills, of course, he had a heart condition. We learned about it already. I didn't mention it. Doesn't matter. Heart condition, and it slowly gamma irradiated him over the years because he was dying. And now he Red Hulks out, and he starts a fight. And now we get Red Hulk for all of literally 5 minutes in the end of the movie. And here's the problem. A lot of the marketing for this movie is Black Falcon Captain America versus the Red Hulk. But Ross is not a villain in this. He doesn't actually do anything wrong the entire movie. The leader is puppeteering everything, and he goads him into transforming. And then they have a fight. And it's not even a... And here's where I'm going to come back to this in the choreography discussion. Sam doesn't actually fight him. He runs away the whole time. And his Wakandan kinetic repulsion technology is the only thing that saves him. You remember in the material where they copied that famous Captain America Hulk cover of him with the shield blocking the punch? That never even happens in this. Doesn't even happen. Never blocks a punch once with the shield, because they knew damn well that he couldn't survive that. Not at all. And so they have a really lame fight, and they end up in a cherry blossom field on a road to call back to a setup from earlier in the movie where Ross said, I just want to take a walk with my daughter again in the cherry blossoms where we were a family and I can tell her I love her. And after a really lame fight, Sam talks him down. He talks him down. Sun's getting real low, red guy, basically, and convinces him, look, the cherry blossoms where you want to walk with your daughter, we want to walk with Betty. And then Ross gives in and transforms back down. And that's the end of the movie, essentially, because now Ross resigns his presidency, Sam is hailed as a hero, Isaiah's freed from prison, and then Sam's going to visit Ross in the raft, and then Betty's going to show up. We get a literally 1 minute cameo from Liv Tyler, reprising her role as Betty Ross. Hey, Dad, let's just sit and talk. I still love you. And Ross is the good man he wanted to be, because the nation had to heal, so he gave up his presidency, and his legacy is preserved. And then you're going to get a big callback to Winter Soldier, where Sam's sitting by Joaquin Falcon Jr.'s bed as he wakes up, and they have a jokey conversation about stuff. And then that's the end of the movie. And there is an Easter egg where the leader taunts Sam about upcoming multiversal problems. Be ready for it. Are you going to be able to stop it as you try to put the Avengers back together? What about the other Avengers in other realities? They're going to try and stop you. It's bullshit. They're basically queuing up Doomsday and Secret Wars is what they're doing. That's the movie. Okay, here's where the problems are. Here's the next part of this. Here's the problems are. As I showed you, as I pointed out throughout all this movie is stitched together on a very thin dental floss thread. A lot of these sequences jump from one moment to another with no coherency, no possible clean transition. The idea of adamantium being a catalyst for so much stuff feels like it's last minute. The idea that the leader's whole master supervillain plan is just to turn Ross into a Hulk so his legacy is tarnished. There's no, I want to take over the world. It's barely even vengeance. It's just pettiness. And here's the overall problem with this whole thing. This whole movie, as I said earlier, it's an Incredible Hulk movie without the Incredible Hulk. Sam Wilson has zero relationship with anybody in this movie. None whatsoever. He's not connected to the villains. He's not connected. Yes, did Ross arrest him and the others and throw them in the raft? Yeah, but he never actually interacted with Sam. He didn't. So they have no real relationship in any other sense of the word. And you have motivations that should be traced back to Bruce Banner and gamma radiation, not Sam Wilson being Captain America with a whole movie trying to tell us he's Captain America. Joaquin, it's as though he has no real character definition at all. He's just snarky tech guy who's now Falcon Jr. and will suffer a damage so that Sam can feel bad and have I'm really down to my dumps hero moment. Tiny little widow woman, she makes no sense in her role in this. She's tiny. She's just a widow. She doesn't have physical enhancements. And the only good thing I will say is Harrison Ford's Ross is good. Harrison Ford is the only real actor in this whole movie. He's the only real actor in this movie. He's believable in what he wants. Harrison Ford that's the only good thing I'll say in this movie. Harrison Ford gives a good performance. He didn't mail it in. He seemed like he wanted to be there for this role. He had a good time doing it. But that's it. And that's only because he's Harrison Ford. He's one of the last good modern day actors left out there, and the man's in his mid-80s at this point. But he still got it done. But Sam Wilson, he accomplishes nothing in this movie. He doesn't grow. He doesn't give forth any sort of actual gravitas. He's just there. He's there to be the guy to move the events along. This movie isn't about him. It's about Ross. What they've cobbled together for this movie, it's about President Ross. It's not about Sam Wilson. And that's the problem. You have a Captain America movie without Captain America, and the dude who's pretending to be Captain America, it's not even his movie. It's everybody else's movie. So there's your problem with how this thing works together. And it falls apart in almost every single way when he's trying to be Captain America and he can't carry the load of being a hero. Because now let's talk about the battle sequences, the fight sequences, which are few and far between. There's one in the beginning. There's the mini one against Sidewinder. There's one in the middle of the second act, or the end of the second act, where they get the leader. And then there's the climactic one. And then there's the Indian Ocean and the fight against Red Hulk. These choreography scenes are terrible because we don't know Captain Black Falcon's power set. It's Wakandan tech. He's got his Red Bird, his Red Hawk, whatever it is. He's got that from Civil War still. He relies on that a hell of a lot. That little drone does a lot of work for him. He uses the shield. Now, I've made this criticism in the past. His use of the shield is illogical. They change how he can use it from moment to moment. When he's wearing his Wakandan tech suit, I can buy that he's got a little bit of a strength juice. because the tech is probably juicing him a little bit, so maybe he could throw the shield. But not in a way that Steve could. He should not be able to do the way Steve could, but he does it anyway, and it doesn't make sense. But when he's out of it, later on, in what I said, in the lab fight sequence, in the Black Side fight sequence, he's throwing that shield and catching it like he's taking the super soldier serum. There is no way a regular dude can catch the vibranium Captain America shield bouncing off walls and people and catch it easily and just go whoop, whoop, whoop. He can't do that, but he does it. Yet at the same time, during those fight sequences, from most of them, even when he's in his suit, you would think he has enhanced strength in the suit. He can barely fight regular dudes. Sam Wilson cannot hold his own in a fight. He constantly needs to be rescued by other people at certain moments. It's pathetic. Gets his ass kicked a lot. And his fight with Sidewinder, at one point he gets blown up. How does he survive it? There was no window for him to escape a car explosion and then start that fight where he gets stabbed and hatchet wounded in the side and walks away with it with just a couple bandages. He doesn't have a healing factor from the Super Soldier Serum. He doesn't have the durability, but he's moving along like it's nobody's business. Later on, as I said, we don't know his suits. We don't know what his arsenal is, because when we get to the Indian Ocean, he gets the magical new suit that came out of nowhere. He's shooting feather darts. He's flying around, doing all kinds of crazy shit. But we don't know what he can do. But he can just do it. He can go supersonic, but they don't talk about him. There's no breakdown of his abilities. And it's especially apparent that you needed to know what he can do, because when he's fighting Red Hulk, he's just running around, flying around. He takes blows. He seems afraid when the kinetic wings are taking all the ability, all the impact. But he still, it seems like the wings can take it. So why is he afraid? I mean, eventually at one point, Red Hulk's gonna rip a wing off. But then when he beats him, he's constantly throwing feather darts at him. And it's because there's no base for his power set, the fight is ludicrous. He never actually fights him, because maybe he doesn't want to fight him. Oh, Adam, he doesn't want to fight him. He wanted to save him. But it's a lame-ass fight. Whereas if it had been Bruce Banner Hulk versus Red Hulk, that would have been a real fight. It would have meant something, because Ross hated Banner. And we could have made Ross an actual villain, and that's the problem. Ross wasn't a villain. Ross was never a villain in this. So this climactic fight against Red Hulk, it's as though he's just trying to talk him down, which is what he does. There's no stakes in this, because Sam Wilson can't hack it. Oh, I forgot. And here's where you see he can't hack it. Back during the assassination scene, you've got Isaiah, who has taken a super soldier serum, leaping around, jumping around, doing super soldier shit. And you see Sam Wilson, to order to chase him, running downstairs. I gotta run down the stairs to catch him. It's silly. It looks pathetic that he's just, hold on, I gotta run down the stairs, catch up. As opposed to, let's cut to Winter Soldier, where when Bucky first tries to take out Steve in his apartment, when Nick Fury shows up, Steve just is jumping through fucking windows, running. That's a super soldier moment. But Sam Wilson, he's got to run downstairs. No jumping out of windows, no jumping across buildings, no jumping through buildings. No, I got to run downstairs. Sam cannot handle it. This movie shows you watch the movie, all the sequences, he cannot handle super-powered enemies. He can't. He barely survives the Hulk fight. He's got a broken arm, broken ribs, but that's just because the kinetic repulsion absorbed a bunch of it. All right, and I got to mention tiny little widow woman. She, as I said, it's MCU all over again. I think I mentioned earlier, she just takes people down like no problem, no superpowers. It's MCU. It's the remaining vestiges of the MCU right here. I think I've covered everything I want to cover. There's a very lame, pathetic soundtrack that is. I couldn't hum it if you paid me $1 million right now. I couldn't hum it. Couldn't hum it to save my life. Gun to my head. Couldn't do it. Don't know the music. This movie stinks. It's bad. It's very preachy too. As I said, it's preachy about how Sam needs to be aspirational and how you don't need superpowers to be Captain America. You can inspire people, because Joaquin has a moment in the end where he's crying in bed, and when he wakes up, "You inspired me, man." He affirms him. He affirms him. Ugh. Well, I don't think I could say much else. This movie's just bad, boring, shallow, empty. It's pathetic. It is boring. There's no heart. It's a movie supposed to be about heart, but there isn't. It's about President Ross in a Captain America movie that's really a Hulk movie, with all the trappings of Incredible Hulk storylines that I guess they've been holding on to for years. With that said, I guess I'm done. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rambling. We'll be talking about this more in streams for the next several days. We'll be covering box office. We'll be covering the reaction from the stands and the shills to why it's so bad. I'm sure certain excuses will be made going forward to why this fails. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave comments, and I will catch you guys later. Until then, take it easy. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.